Well, now it's time to introduce a new aspect of Mac's movies. It's no secret to friends who know me that I'm quite passionate about fishing, particularly freshwater fishing. We're currently on Lake Wivenhoe. I've launched in Billy's Bay, and I've got to rig up a few rods. Today I'm going to be chasing Australian bass. The go is I'm going to troll around for a little while because this part of the dam is largely unknown to me, so I'm going to go looking for schools on the sounder, and when I come across a big school, I'll show you later what they look like on the sounder. I'm going to pull up there and start fishing right there with lures, soft plastics, and no bait. This is a no bait boat. Haven't used bait for 30 years. Onward and upward. Let's see how we go this morning. The speed limit on this dam is, because it's a large water source, they like to keep the speed limit down to 6 knots, and I adhere to that fairly religiously because it's the right thing to do. We don't want power boats and jet skis tearing around here like they do in other dams and spoiling it for everybody, mainly noise and wake. So as I said before, onward and upward. I'm going to just go out to the deep water and rig up a few rods. So I've only bought a few basic lures today. I've only grabbed a couple of boxes, primarily for bass. Yeah, well anyway, we've got some leader material in there. I've got to rig up now. These are spinnerbaits, and this is the rod I'm rigging up right now. In most freshwater dams in Queensland, they work on the SIPS program, which is a stocked impoundment permit. You can buy them yearly or weekly, daily, I think. I'm not quite sure about the last one. But I've got a yearly permit, and it allows me to fish on these dams legally. I'm pretty much strictly catch and release, so anything I catch I release and put them back into the system and let somebody else enjoy the fish as I've enjoyed them, catching them, that is. It's all about the hunt, and when you get lucky and end up with a tight line, it's a lot of fun for anglers. So as I said before, I'm going to rig up now and get going, and I'll show you a little bit more about what I do out on these dams in my little Kevlar cat boat. First process is to string it up. I'm using 10-pound braided line, and to that end of that line, when it goes through the whole loop, I'm going to tie a leader knot on there with some probably 20-pound leader, because there's some pretty big catfish in here too, and they'll snap your leader if you go light leader. So we'll see what happens. I always like to put in a double braided line. It's called a bimini. I use about 20 turns. Quite boring for the uninitiated, I know, but it has to be done. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to hook up to a prize Australian bass and drop it because of a knot failure. So I give it double strength around where you tie your leader on up to here. Always use your big toe for this part of the knot. I'm not going to show you that part. So we're all rigged up with the first rod. Found a nice little lure. I think may catch anglers at the shop more than catch fish, but anyway, it's all about the bling. This is a crumpy lure. I think I got this at the recent Fernvale Australian Handmade Lure Expo. I may have overspent a little bit there, but this is one of the new lures I haven't tried yet, so we'll give it a go. Always like to test swim the lure before I get out there and start towing it around the dam, so just make sure everything's kosher and everything's working properly. And there goes the first cast. We've got a little bit of a bird's nest. Tighten up the prespool drag. That's better. Got out about 20 metres that time. And it's swimming really nicely back through the water, making that nice fishy look. This one's a floating lure, so if you stop the retrieve, it'll float back up to the surface pretty slowly. You can get suspending lures that stay right in the water wherever they stop, wherever you stop retrieving, and they'll just sit there, which is handy sometimes for a hungry fish to take a minute to think about whether he's going to hit the lure or not. But everything's all right with this fella. Cast beautifully. There's about a 30-metre cast. I'm confident. Okay, we'll rig up one more rod and then we're on our way. Well, as you can see, I've got both the rods hooked up. We're good to go. What a beautiful day on the dam. It's like a mill pond this morning before the wind gets up. It's pretty unique out here. And by the way, I'm the only angler on this part of the dam. There was nobody at the boat ramp, and so I've just got myself to talk to. So getting back to these rods, I'm just going to put them in some rod holders on either side of the boat and cruise off at about, I don't know, 3 kilometers per hour. Just go a nice slow troll. The electric outboard is for when you're edge fishing. It's really handy to be nice and quiet. Go into stealth mode. I use this. It's a 55-pound Minn Kota Riptide, and it's the way to go when you want to fish the edge fishery. I'll tell you more about that later, perhaps, if I decide to have a crack at that. So we've left the boat ramp, and we're heading towards a place called Platypus Cliffs. There's a lot of deep water on the way over there, so I'll be watching the sounder, looking for fish. Sometimes you strike it lucky and you'll see a big school of fish, the archers, all hugging maybe an old tree stump or something out there, and you can almost count down. If you're going to get a fish, you can count down, 10 seconds or so, depending on how fast you're trolling, and whack, you'll pull one off that structure that you've spotted on the sounder. That's when the plan comes together. That's what we're looking for. I'll get one out now. Just testing the drag, it's about right. I'll deploy it, set and forget, wait for a fish. Might as well do the other one while I'm here. Check the drag, it's about right. Deploy it. Now we wait and look. This is very calming. Not a boat to be seen. Got the whole dam to myself. Acres and acres and acres of water. And there just happens to be a big show of fish on the sounder already. I mean, 54 foot. Moving at 2 knots, which is about 4 kilometers per hour. It's about as slow as this boat will go. Rod tips are throbbing exactly like they should do. I'm coming up to a bit of a plateau with a couple of big fish on it. Can only hope that I'll get whacked. Stand by. Yeah, that's Platypus Cliffs that you can see in the directly ahead. That's where we're heading. Hopefully we'll pass through some good country. This is what the rod tip should be doing. I don't know whether the camera picks that up, but it's throbbing away, and I know that there's no weed on the lure to impede its action. Throbbing nicely. Other side, doing the same thing. Wonder if you can see that, but that's what it should be doing. Yeah, I forgot to mention that my apologies to those anglers out there that know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just outlining the basics for many of my friends who don't know what I do when I come out to a lake. So just put up with that little bit. Sorry. Oh yeah, one more thing. Everybody should know this. Sunscreen, a good hat, lip gloss. Got to have lip gloss. Perfect. Here's the screen at the moment. You'll see there's just a little hump in the ground, and there's a little bit of rubbish hanging around there. But the fish are staging on top of that, and they're 20 foot down to 40 foot. So I've got a couple of lures in there that swim about 15 and 20 foot. There's more coming up on the sounder, as you'll see them coming through now. I hope you can pick all this up, otherwise it's wasted. So it's oh, it looks pretty interesting. That could be a big clump of floating weed, but there's fish all around it. Hopefully they're hungry and they want to have a chew. We're approaching Platypus Cliffs. We're probably about 300 meters, 400 meters away. When we get close to the bank, I'm going to hang a right and do a couple of runs right past the cliffs. The cliffs are basically right in the middle of that hump. It's still a little bit further on. Can't really pick it up from here, but there's some deep water there. And back in the day when I used to come up here quite often in another life, the Platypus Cliffs was responsible for some trophy-sized bass. I might also add that the Somerset Wivenhoe Fish Stocking Association, I've recently joined them as a member, are responsible for putting all the bass, yellow belly and cod recovery program in the upper reaches of the Brizzy River as well. They put in literally millions of fish over the years, and it's a part of the SIPS money. It goes straight to the Somerset Wivenhoe Fish Stocking Group to purchase more fingerlings to put into this dam, so they make it a great fishery for blokes like me who come out here with a SIPS license and a boat and a couple of fishing rods. I've just put the sounder in down scan mode. This shows you what it looks like right under me. There's a lot of rocks in this area, because we're very, very close to the bank and there's rocks everywhere in this location. It makes a good habitat for fish, and this is where you find them, technically speaking. But the down scan showing some nice structure this is right below us. There's a transducer on the back of the boat, and it scans down. It has a side scan as well, so I can tell what's on the left and the right. But it's a fairly good graphical representation of what's happening underneath us. And of course, all these little arches you see here, they should be fish, but they're not hitting right now. The lures, that is. Onward and upward. So that's where we're heading. I don't know whether you can pick up the cliffs in the back, in the dead ahead at about 300 meters. That's where I've picked up some trophy bass in the past. Here's hoping. I love it out here. It's so peaceful. Nobody to bother you. No traffic lights, no bad drivers, no freeways, no tolls. Just me and the boat and a little bit of technology to get me by. Pretty nice place though. That's why I keep coming back. It's in side scan mode now. I probably haven't got this set up the best way possible, but it's still a fairly good representation of what's out to my left and to my right. There's a lot of rock structure in there. So right here is where the main rock wall starts. I'm just about onto it. I can actually go quite close there because it's a straight drop off down to about 20-30 foot maybe, depending on dam depth. Don't know what it is today, but we'll have a look. We're currently reading 42 feet. Hopefully you'll hear a screaming reel happen along here. We're actually quite close to the rock wall. I don't know whether you can pick that up, but there's some nice big arches on the sounder over some rocks in a downscan application. We're sitting in now about 35 foot. We're really close to the wall, and so you can see how deep it goes here. There's a couple of huge arches there, which means quite likely they're big fish. They may be asleep, they may be awake. I'm hoping I'm going to wake them up and they'll feed on that impulse to see a lure, or in their eyes a fish trying to escape. Nothing yet. Stay tuned. Still cruising along quite close to the wall. We're in 34 foot. I'll check it out. This is my new office. Hey, to all my working mates out there, it's Monday. I'm out fishing. What are you doing? Well, what can I say? Fish, fish, fish. This is how the lure swims. See white bass like them. They wiggle and shake and do their thing. These are the sort of snags we look for in little creeks and dams, particularly with when there's standing timber in the dam. It's a fish habitat. You can see that big snag there is coming right down into the water. Now, hopefully this shows up, but it's going out about 20 foot before it disappears from view. Comes another RAF plane doing a low pass over the dam. A lot closer than it looks. How cool. Finally, 3 hours later, onto our first fish. Feels like a bass. I don't think it's that big, but we will see. It hit pretty hard. Maybe a yellow belly. No, it's a nice sized bass. I'll show you. Only just got him. Sweet. Gotcha! That was the lure, that's the fish. It's very nice. Check that out. That's a very, very solid bass that I was talking about. They're pretty big. There it is. Sweet ass. Look, look. They do exist. That's a pretty good sized fish, that one. Got him pretty close to the bank, and I reckon he'd go probably 48, which is quite nice. I'll take that. Look at the size of the mouth on these things. They just inhale lures. Anyway, I've got to get him back in the water because I released them all. I'm pretty happy with that one though. Nice. I'll see if I can get an underwater shot too. Wait a minute, I'll put him under the water first. Okay. There's our fish. Here we go underwater. Got to be happy with that one. That's what an Australian bass looks like, and that's why I'm out here fishing for them. It's a lot of fun. A few of the local wildlife come down to say hello to me. A whole family of kangaroos. I think I might have scared them off. There's only two things I don't really like. That's riding my motorcycles in the rain and fishing in the rain. Those clouds look pretty ominous. There's bugger all wind, so it's not going to be soon, it's going to be a little bit later. Oh, nice fish on the sounder. Still buzzing, that last catch. Probably what it's all about for me. You can fish for hours and hours and hours and get nothing, and out of the blue you get a pretty good size bass. 48's pretty good size. I'm going to try casting to the bank for 5 minutes and see what happens. Usually put the electric in, but right now I've got to get going shortly, so I'll just try this. Weed everywhere in the dam, which makes for frustrating fishing. Give it a go. Getting late, I've got to be somewhere. I'm going to pack up and head back. At least we got one today. Well, it was a longish day in the heat, but I got the prize in my trusty little punt.